Hey guys, my name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a very exciting 50K Q&A. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for 50K. It's just so mind-boggling to me, and honestly this is a milestone that I never thought I would achieve on this channel. I started doing YouTube in 2015, and just in these last 2 years or so I've seen so much growth on this channel that it's just so crazy to think about, and I'm just so grateful for anybody that takes the time to watch any of my videos or to leave a comment or to like a video or subscribe. I just really appreciate it, and I've just had so much fun with YouTube over the years, and I'm forever grateful. Also, I think this is going to be really fun because I haven't actually done a Q&A since I did my 15K Q&A, which was in last like April or May, I want to say. So I'll definitely have my previous Q&As linked down below in case there's anything there that I don't answer in this video that you might be curious about. October has been kind of a shitty, stressful month because I've just had so many reading vlogs planned and just like nothing has been going to plan, so I apologize for the lack of reading vlogs this month, but I'm going to try to have a reading vlog up very soon after this video, hopefully, so there is something coming, but like literally all of my plans have not happened. I asked for questions on my YouTube community post like right after I hit 50K, and then last night on Instagram on my story I asked for some questions, so I'm going to be pulling some questions from YouTube and from Instagram for this. One of the questions I got asked a lot is how old I am. I'm 25 years old. I'm going to be 26 in January. Another question I got asked a lot is what I do for a job, like what do I do for a living, and the answer to that is that I'm a general manager at a pizza restaurant. I've been the manager there for 2 years now, coming up in November. Another question I got asked a lot is why my family moved to Washington, because if you didn't know, I'm originally from California, born and raised, and then when I was 20 years old, we moved to Washington, actually almost like 5 years ago now. Like the 5-year anniversary is coming up on October 27th. So I've been in Washington for 5 years now, and the main reason why we moved is just because my dad got laid off from his job and we couldn't really afford to live in our house in California anymore, and my mom does have some family living out in Washington, and we've been to Washington before a few times growing up, just like on vacations, so we just thought Washington was the best place for us to be, and I'm really glad we moved. I love Washington very much. I got a lot of questions about like me being a writer and like if I ever plan to write a book, and if I did, what genre I want to write, and if I've written anything. The answer to that is I don't I don't really know. I've always thought that I would eventually write a romance book because like romance is what got me into reading in the first place, you know, so I always just assumed that romance would be the genre that I would gravitate towards and write whenever I eventually did write a book. And I did start writing a book, I think it was like last year, but I've literally only written like 3 or 4 chapters, and it is a romance that I started. But I don't know, this year of 2020 has just kind of like changed some things for me. Like I'm just not as interested in romance as I was, and like this year I've been reading way more horrors and way more thrillers than I ever have before, so like I don't know, it makes me think maybe I'm more interested in writing like a thriller or a horror book sometimes, but I don't really know yet. I do still eventually want to write a book. I just don't know if that's a realistic goal for myself in the near future. Like I'd much rather right now put my energy and my time into my YouTube channel and like reading books than writing, because I feel like writing is a very solo journey and writing is very time consuming, and I just don't see myself like taking a lot of time for writing right now. I also got asked a lot like where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what do you want to do with your life, and what are your life goals? And to all of that I say I have absolutely no idea. Honestly, as long as I'm happy, like I don't really care where I'm at in 5 years. I just hope that I'm content with where I'm at, and I don't even know what I'm doing next week, so like I don't know where I see myself in 5 years. Yeah, questions like that kind of stress me out. I don't know, I don't like to think like that far into the future. Like I just want to plan week by week and just get by week by week, and that's just, yeah, that's just how it is. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start with Instagram for the first couple of questions, and there are so many questions, so I'm sorry if I don't get to every single one of them. One of the first questions says, will you ever do a book giveaway? And I have done book giveaways many times over on my Instagram, so definitely be sure to follow me on Instagram if you're interested in book giveaways. Next question says, if you don't mind me asking, how much money would you say you have spent on books? And like total, like I have absolutely no idea, but I would say monthly, I probably only spend maybe $50 a month on books, like if that. I am really, really lucky and really grateful that I do have a lot of relationships with publishers, and I do get a lot of books sent to me for review or to promote on my social medias. So luckily I don't have to spend as much money on books as I would otherwise. But yeah, I would say somewhere around like $50 a month on books. Ooh, the next question says, what song has recently been added to your favorites? Oh my gosh, so many. I do have a Spotify playlist called Current Faves, if you're interested in checking that out, where I list like literally hundreds of songs that are on my like current rotation. I'll link that down below if you want to check that out. But recently I've been listening a lot to Floor, is this new band that I discovered that I'm like absolutely obsessed with. Also, ever since Bly Manor, I've been listening to I Shall Believe by Sheryl Crow like so much. I'm really obsessed with this song right now called The Subway Song by DeLacy. But yeah, I think one of my new favorite songs ever is Unsaid by Floor. Specifically, I mean the one on the Reimagined album. Oh my god. Love it. The next question says, what's the worst book you read in 2020 so far? Probably One by One by Ruth Ware. And honestly, I don't know. I mean, One by One is probably definitely up there. I don't know. I've read a few really shitty books this year. Other ones that come to mind is like The Other Woman and like Never Have I Ever. The next question says, what are your favorite headphones, Beats, Studios, or AirPods? And honestly, I don't know which one of them is my favorite necessarily. I think the ones that I use the most are my AirPods, just because they're so easy to just pop into my ears and like they just connect straight to my phone, and I can just pop them in while I'm like grocery shopping or while I'm like at work doing a few things while I can have them in. And they're just easy to pop in and then take out and just have in my tiny little case in my purse. Like, I don't know, they're the most convenient for sure, but I don't know if they're necessarily my favorite. Like, I feel like for sound quality, my Beats and my Studios are definitely higher sound quality, and they both have like noise cancellation, so they're both like better quality headphones. But for convenience, my AirPods are definitely the ones I use the most. Another question says, how do you go to sleep after reading horror? I don't. I never sleep. I have such bad insomnia, and yeah, the horror probably doesn't help it. Another question says, favorite music artists that aren't Taylor Swift. Yeah, like I said, Floor is definitely a recent favorite of mine. I love Carly Rae Jepsen, Vance Joy, St. John is one of my favorite artists. I love Coldplay, I love Young the Giant, I love The Weeknd, I love Drake, I love The Neighborhood, Lord Huron, Casey Musgrave, Sasha Sloan, and Beyonce, of course. How could I forget Beyonce? Ooh, another question says, what's one of your favorite videos that you've made? It's a really good question. I do have a few videos that I'm like really genuinely so proud of. Like, some of my favorite videos to make are my end of the year compilation of all of my vlogs for the end of the year. I just feel like those videos are so satisfying because it takes me so long to edit them, and I just really love the result of them, and they usually always kind of make me tear up and make me emotional. So I really love those videos that I've made. And I also still really love the video that I did of like reading books outside of my comfort zone, and I definitely want to do that again at some point. God, it was like over a year ago now, but I had so much fun doing that video. And anytime I get to do like a video with my mom or like one of my friends like Austin, like those are always some of my favorite videos to do, and definitely like the most memorable for me. I actually made a playlist of videos that is called Best of Gabby Reads or something, that are like my personal favorite videos that I've ever made, so I'll have to link that playlist down below if you care to see it. But those are definitely all the videos that I'm the most proud of that I've made on this channel. Ooh, the next question says, how has your reading changed over the years? And I feel like that's a really good question, because I do feel like my reading has changed quite a bit. I would say the biggest thing that has changed for me is my love of reading young adult has definitely changed. I used to read pretty much only consistently young adult when I started this channel in 2015, and now young adult is such hit or miss for me. Like, some young adult I still really enjoy, but some of it I can't. And another thing that has changed a lot too is my love for horror books. That's just come about pretty recently here in 2020. I've just discovered this love of horror, and so I've been reading more horror this year than I ever have before. It's not like I disliked horror before, but I just never understood the hype, I guess, so I was never reading the right books. I mean, just last October is my first time reading Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and that was the first book that I ever loved from Stephen King. And definitely for romance books, like, I still do love romance books, don't get me wrong, but I don't find myself gravitating towards romance as much as I used to. For example, if there's like a really good sounding thriller or horror book and a good sounding romance book, I'm more likely to gravitate towards the thriller or horror book these days. The next question says, what is your favorite part of the process of creating videos? And I love everything about creating videos, but I think my favorite part of the process is kind of like getting all of the ideas together for like, if I'm doing like a reading vlog of say like reading a YouTuber's favorite books, then I love like researching, like going on their channel, trying to figure out all the books and like finding the clips of them talking about those books. And I love the planning aspect of it. It's like the planning is definitely the most fun for me, because then by the time it gets to the stages of actually filming it and reading it and then editing it, I can get easily kind of overwhelmed with everything that I'm trying to do. But I just love planning it, and that's why I feel like I have so many ideas and so many things that I would like to do and so many plans, because I just love planning it out so much. But then does it always happen? We'll see about that. Another question says, opinions of pineapple on pizza. I love pineapple on pizza. I just had pineapple on pizza last night. Ooh, next question says, favorite author of all time. And I would probably have to say either Taylor Jenkins Reid or Riley Sager, because they're so different, but they're both my favorites in their respective genres. Ooh, this is a good question. It says favorite and least favorite thing about being a booktuber. And I think by far my favorite thing is, you know, the sense of community, and like whenever people tell me that they've like read a book because of me, like that just genuinely makes me so happy. Or when people tell me like, you're my favorite booktuber, or like I watch every single video, like that just, it means so much, and it really like genuinely makes me happy. And I still can't believe that there are so many people who say those things to me. Like it just doesn't fully compute in my brain, to be honest, but I'm just so freaking grateful. And that's definitely my favorite thing about being a YouTuber. And I think my least favorite thing for sure is like feeling pressured to do certain things or to read certain books or to do certain videos, just because I don't know, I do feel like reading should be like obviously a fun thing and it should be something that I want to do, but sometimes I do feel pressured to like do certain videos or like just do certain things. Or like say for example in my last video, like there were a lot of people that got really upset with me that I DNF'd the ruins, and it's just like, it is what it is, I guess, but that kind of sucks, like the feeling of like pressure from people to like do certain things and stuff. So that's definitely my least favorite thing about being a YouTuber. Another question says, any advice for me if I want to start my own YouTube videos? And my advice would be to just do it. Just go ahead and do it. I had waited like over a year before I started my YouTube channel, even though I wanted to, and like there's never gonna be like the perfect time for you to start your channel. Like you just have to do it, just start it. Ooh, another question that I got asked quite often is like, when did I first start falling in love with reading and when did I first start reading a lot? And the answer to that is I did start reading quite a bit when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, I was really into A Series of Unfortunate Events and Goosebumps and all of that when I was younger. But then I didn't really start actively reading until like 2014 was the first year that I read a ton of books that year. Like I would say before 2014, I would average maybe like one book a month usually. But after 2014 is when I would start averaging like 6 to 8 books a month, and then since then it's just gotten more and more and more and more. Another question says, do you try to consciously incorporate nonfiction in your reading schedule? And the answer to that is no. I don't really even think about like reading nonfiction books until I hear about a nonfiction book that's like getting super hyped or something by everyone in the community, and then I just add it to my wish list at my library audiobooks, and then as soon as it becomes available I just listen to it. I don't actively seek out nonfiction books, I guess, but I just kind of pay attention to the ones that are like really popular. Ooh, another question says, my favorite song on Reputation. Definitely Delicate, because it's my favorite Taylor Swift song of all time. But you know, that one is hard because oh my god, like Dress is definitely up there. New Year's Day is definitely up there. I Did Something Bad. Ugh, I think Reputation is my favorite Taylor Swift album. I think I've like had a change of heart, and 1989 is still up there. Like my top 3 would definitely be Reputation, Folklore, 1989. But I think Reputation is my favorite. It's just such a vibe. Ooh, another question says, best creepy caffeine episode so far. I've binged it since you mentioned it. Love it. That's so awesome. Yeah, Creepy Caffeine is one of my favorite podcasts. Like Creepy Caffeine totally got me into podcasts. And I don't know, I think one of my favorite episodes so far, one of the ones that I just listened to the other day that I thought was super crazy, was this episode about how these people have claimed that they've been sleepwalking while they murdered someone, and how like some people have actually gotten away with murder in court because they said they were sleepwalking when the murder happened. And it just, that whole episode was like really fascinating. I think that episode was like in the 50s, if I remember correctly. But gosh, there's been so many good Creepy Caffeine episodes. Like, all of them are so fascinating to me. So if you haven't checked out Creepy Caffeine, check it out. Question says, do you ever worry that you'll lose your passion for reading? And honestly, sometimes. Because I feel like lately, like especially in this year of 2020, I feel like I've gotten so obsessed with making reading vlogs and finding books that fit a theme for my reading vlogs that I almost have gotten to the point where I'm like, well, what's the point of reading this book if I'm not going to include it in a reading vlog? And I feel like that's like a really shitty mindset for me to have, because it's like I need to reevaluate and think, why am I doing this in the first place? You know, like I'm doing this because I love reading, and just because a book is not going to be featured in a reading vlog, like if I'm not going to show myself reading it on YouTube, then do I still want to read it? I've been going through kind of this like weird mindset just recently, like within this last month, and I'm like trying to reevaluate why I'm on YouTube and why I love reading. And it's like I never want to lose my passion for reading, so that's why I'm trying to like reassess why I'm doing these things in the first place. I think it could get to a point where I lose my passion for reading, but honestly, like I'm pretty good at like noticing those kind of things in myself and noticing when I need a break and when I'm feeling a little bit burnt out. So I don't think it'll ever get to the point where I just completely lose my passion for reading, but I don't necessarily think that I'm always going to be this passionate about reading as I am right now, because like in this last like year or so, I've read more books within 1 year than I have ever in my whole life. I don't think I'm always going to be able to go at this rate, but I don't think I'll ever completely lose my passion for reading. No. Ooh, another question says, what's your Starbucks order? And this depends on the time of year. But my go-to iced coffee drink is their iced cinnamon almond milk macchiato. Holy shit, it is life-changing, and I'm so sad because they discontinued it, but you can technically still order it. You just have to order an iced caramel macchiato and make like a bunch of different substitutions, but that one is by far my fave. And then of course, once it hits fall around this time of year, I just love to get pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks. I love their cinnamon dulce lattes. I love their toffee nut lattes. Ooh, one question says, if you could read one book for the first time all over again, which one would it be? I would probably have to say The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, because that book was just so iconic and just so amazing. The first time I read it, I just loved it so much, and it would just be so cool to be able to experience that book again for the first time. One of these questions says, what does your dad think of your channel and does he watch? My dad is very proud of everything that I do, just as my mom is. Like, they're both always telling me all the time like how proud they are of me, and they've always encouraged me to be on YouTube and to do what I love. And my parents are like literally the most supportive parents in the world, and I really just appreciate them so much for that and cherish them for that. As far as like if he watches my videos, I don't know, honestly. I don't think he does. I know my mom watches most of my videos, but for my dad, I'm not totally sure, to be honest. He might just be watching it if my mom like has it on, because like sometimes she says she puts it on like the TV in the main room, so he might watch it then, but on his own, I don't think that's happening, no. One question says, why don't you buy books from local bookstores like before? And I'm not totally sure what that means, because I just bought 2 books from my local bookstore this morning, so not totally sure what that's about. Another question says, do you live alone? And no, I live in this apartment with my sister and her boyfriend. Ooh, a question says, what's the best horror book that you've read so far? And honestly, I don't really know. I feel like it's kind of a tie between Pet Sematary and The Troop, even though they're like totally different vibes, but like those books have definitely stuck in my brain the most out of all the horror books that I've read so far. Another question says, you're so comfortable in front of the camera. Any advice or tips for those that have a fear of vlogging? And honestly, I would just say practice makes perfect, you know? Like, it definitely took me so long to get comfortable on camera. Like, go back and watch my first year of being on YouTube, and like, holy shit, I was so freaking awkward and I did not know how to talk to the camera. And I honestly don't really know what changed over time for me, but I guess I just got more comfortable with it as I was on YouTube longer. So if you're definitely like kind of camera shy, I would just recommend doing it more often, talking to the camera all the time. Like, talk to the camera as if you're talking to your best friend. Like, that's like the only advice that I have, because I think you just have to be your genuine, authentic self on camera, because people can tell when you're kind of like having a fake voice or trying to make yourself sound like you're like presenting to the camera. I just feel like that's so awkward, and I just feel like it's always best when you're just like being yourself and just talking to the camera and just hanging out. Somebody asked what's my favorite Colleen Hoover book, and definitely It Ends With Us by far. Somebody asked what my biggest pet peeve is, and you know, before 2020, I would have said slow drivers. Like, slow drivers are always my biggest pet peeve because, okay, I'm from California. We drive very fast in California. Everyone in Washington drives like 25 miles per hour. And a lot of our roads in the back roads back here are like 25 miles per hour speed limit. And it just, it's too slow. It's way too slow. We don't need to be driving 25 miles per hour on the main streets, okay? But, you know, after 2020, my biggest pet peeve is definitely people not wearing their masks. I will never understand somebody walking into a restaurant or walking into a grocery store and refusing to put on a mask. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It drives me nuts. It's by far my biggest pet peeve this whole year. I can't deal with it. Working in customer service, I've dealt with it so many times firsthand and it sucks. Somebody put, do you remember your very first video and how many subscribers did you start with? And yes, I remember my very first video. It was awkward as fuck. I've thought about deleting it and I started with 0, just like everyone does, I think. I don't know. One question says, when you listen to an audiobook on a higher speed, don't you miss some of the interpretation? And honestly, no. I mean, I think it depends on the audiobook, and that's why sometimes I do change the speed from like 2.25 to like 2.5 depending on the voice of the narrator, you know, because like, yeah, sometimes if it is a little bit too fast for me and I miss some of the interpretation, then I'll just slow it down a tiny little bit and then it'll be fine for me. But I mean, I'm able to listen to like anything on 2 times speed. Like even the podcasts on Spotify that I listen to on 2 times speed. I watch my YouTube videos on 2 times speed. So I'm very used to absorbing hearing words in 2 times speed, so I don't think it affects the interpretation for me. One question says, what do you do with your books after you read them? And it depends, because if I really love the book, like if it's a new favorite, then I'll keep it on my shelf in my room. But if I don't really enjoy it, or if I just want to pass it on, I'll either like send it to a friend in the mail, I'll donate them to like Value Village or Goodwill or somewhere local that'll take them, or I just give them to friends in real life. Like, it just depends. Somebody asked, how do you find motivation to film regularly? And I've just started wondering that myself, you know, because as I said, October has just been such a shitty and stressful month and I've just had absolutely no motivation to do anything lately. So honestly, I don't know. I'm not totally sure how I've had so much motivation. I guess my main motivation is that I like feel so satisfied when I post a video that I'm really proud of, and then I love seeing the feedback from you guys. It just makes me so happy and it makes me feel so motivated to continue doing more videos. So I guess my main source of motivation comes from you guys. Like, it really does, especially lately. One question says, do you read all the book of the month selections they send you? And like, no, I don't. I try to read at least 1, maybe 2 per month that they send me, but I've been working with book of the month since 2017 and they've been sending me books since 2017. So I have an entire shelf dedicated to all of the books that are still in my TBR that I've received from book of the month, and it's getting out of control. It's getting a little bit crazy. One question says, what is your favorite content to film and what are your future hopes for the channel? And I think my favorite content to film is definitely the reading vlogs that I do. They're just so easy most of the time and just so fun, even though lately I've just kind of been like struggling to read the books that I've been wanting to read. Those are definitely my favorite to film. And as far as like where I see this channel going, like, I don't know, I just kind of hope I can just keep up this fun vibe of doing like reading vlogs every now and then. And as I said, I don't know, I don't really plan my future very much. Somebody said, is chicken, asparagus, and potatoes your family's traditional meal? And honestly, no. I mean, it's probably like my traditional meal now that I'm an adult and I make dinner for myself a lot. But like growing up, no, we made Mexican food so often. Because if you didn't know, my grandma's full Mexican, my dad's half Mexican. Literally all we would eat growing up is like enchiladas, quesadillas, tacos, like almost every single night. Like, we ate so much Mexican food growing up, and I still love Mexican food, so it's great. But Mexican food was definitely like our go-to food growing up. Another question says, are you planning to do more ASMR videos in the near future? And at this point, probably not. I don't regret doing the first ASMR video that I did. I thought it was like really fun, but some of the feedback I got from that just wasn't so great and it was like super discouraging. And I know I've definitely gotten a lot more positive feedback than I got negative feedback, but I guess I just wasn't expecting so much of the negative feedback. I don't know, it was a little bit upsetting when it happened, but I've definitely gotten over it and I'm like, whatever, it is what it is, it's fine. I don't even know if I'm that good at ASMR, to be honest. I just wanted to do it as an experiment. And I got a lot of questions too about if I ever plan on doing YouTube full time. Not really sure about that, because it's like YouTube is great, but YouTube is also like I feel like it's just so up in the air. Like, I feel like nothing is ever consistent enough for me to do this full time, you know? But it would be nice to eventually be able to work somewhere maybe part-time and just do YouTube full-time and then work somewhere else part-time. Like, that would definitely be the most ideal situation for me, but will I ever feel comfortable enough to go down to part-time somewhere in my real job? Like, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I also got a lot of questions asking if I'm in a relationship, and to anybody that asked me that, I would just link you to my video. I'll link it down below. That video that I did called reading soft books that make me cry, because I went really into depth on that in that video, and I just don't feel like bringing that up again. So yeah, answer for that will be down below. Ooh, somebody asked dream collaboration with a booktuber, and gosh, I don't know. I mean, my favorite booktuber is Books and Lala, you guys already know, but like, me and Kayla have collaborated in a lot of ways recently on my channel and on her channel, and she's just been super fun to collaborate with every time. So of course I would love to collaborate with Kayla again. I just adore Kayla so hard. Some other booktubers, I've recently gotten so obsessed with Noelle Gallagher. She's like one of my new favorite booktubers that I watch like every single video, so collaborating with her would be super cool. I also really love Kat from Paperback Dreams. She's one of my faves. This question says, have you had any reading slumps during this time from all the worldly chaos and stress? And before this month, my answer to you would have been no, not really, but after this month, yes. I don't know what's changed in October, but all of a sudden, yes. One question says, do you ever get recognized by customers? The answer to that is no. I've never been recognized like while I'm at work or while I'm working, but I have been recognized 2 times before in public in my life, and it was very exciting and crazy when it happened. The first time it happened, I was at Olive Garden with all of my coworkers. This was like a year or 2 ago, and then this super lovely woman came up to our table and she started talking about how she watches my channel and that I've recommended her so many books, and it was like the sweetest thing ever. I was like dying. And then the second time it happened was actually very recently in August or so, when I was in Barnes & Noble, and this mom and her daughter came up to me and they both said that they watch my channel, and it was just so cool. Like, it's such an out-of-body experience when that happens to me, because I don't know why, for some reason I never considered the fact that like there are people in real life who watch my videos. Like, you know, it's just, I never even think about that, honestly, especially like people like local in my area. Like, what? So anytime it happens, I'm just like flabbergasted, and I probably look like such a deer in headlights because I'm just like, what? Like, I don't know, but it was really cool. This question says, when did you start playing the guitar, and did Taylor Swift have anything to do with that choice? I mean, I started playing the guitar when I was 13. I taught myself how to play, and that was like right around the time when I was becoming a Taylor Swift fan. So like, I don't know if Taylor had any influence over that or not. I've never really considered that, to be honest. One question asked my all-time favorite Taylor Swift song, and definitely Delicate is my #1, but followed right behind that is Cornelia Street, The Archer, New Romantics, and Holy Ground, and I could go on, but those are definitely like my top faves. Ooh, somebody said California versus Washington, what are the pros and cons of both? So California, definitely the biggest pro of California is the beach, and you know, Los Angeles, and you know, there's so many things to do in California. Like, there's literally endless amount of things to do. And definitely the cons of California are it's fucking hot all the time. Even on Christmas, it's probably hot. And obviously that's not true for all parts of California, but where I was from, you know, I lived in Corona, California. It's very hot there in the summer and all of the time, because it's like in the desert kind of. And I just hated the fact that in California, like, there was always traffic, everywhere's overpopulated, there's just so many freaking people everywhere, and it just got a little bit too much for me, you know? It's a little claustrophobic and it's hot all the time. It's not my jam. And then Washington, the pros of Washington are that we feel all of the seasons here, you know? Like, you definitely get a fall here, you get a summer, you get a winter. It's like you get all of the seasons, which I really love because I never had that in California. And I love in Washington that it's raining all the time. Like, literally, we get maybe 3 months of the year where it's like not raining. Every other time of the year, it's raining, and I love that. We get a little bit of snow too, like not too much, but like we get a little bit of snow usually once a year, and I love that because like I do like snow, but like I don't need a lot of it, and my car sucks in the snow, so I don't want to be driving in the snow all the time, you know? But like once a year for like maybe a week or a few weeks, I can handle it, you know? Another pro of Washington is that it's somewhat affordable living. Like California, it's way too fucking expensive. That's half the reason why we moved. We can actually afford to live on our own and like, you know, be able to live and like have a life. Washington is just, it's not too expensive, it's not too crazy, and most of the people in Washington are actually pretty cool and pretty nice, and like most people are really friendly. Like if you're walking down the street and you pass someone, they're most likely gonna like look at you and be like, hey, how's it going? You know, like people are nice in Washington. It's crazy. And yeah, as far as the cons go for Washington, I will say compared to California, there's not as much to do in Washington, which is why I feel like a lot of people have hobbies here, like reading books or like going to the movies or stuff like that, you know, because there's not a whole lot to do, whereas in California there's literally so much to do. So that's like the only con of Washington, is that I feel like you definitely live more of an indoor lifestyle most of the time in Washington because of how cold it can get outside and because of the weather. Sometimes it's always raining, so it's definitely more of an indoor lifestyle for some parts of the year, whereas California, you can be out every single day of the year. Somebody said, what is a book you haven't read yet because it's too intimidating? And that would be The Stand by Stephen King, because it's so massive and I know I need to read it and I know I'll probably enjoy it, but I just Oh, somebody asked, how is your sister doing with her health problems? Hope she is feeling better. She is doing okay now. She's actually back at work today, which is awesome because she's been out of work since the beginning of September, and she's doing all right. They found out for sure that she does have a small kidney stone in her kidney, but as of now it's not moving at all and they are not expecting it to move, so they said she can function and go about her life with it, but she's going to see a doctor about it next week to see like what they should do about it, because like she's still really uncomfortable with it being there. Yeah, she's just had a whole lot of different health things come up in this last month. She's pretty much confirmed that she has IBS, so she's kind of struggling with that and a kidney stone, and it's just been a really difficult time. But she is starting to feel a little bit better now, so she's definitely doing better than she has been in like the last month. So somebody asked, would you be reading as much if you didn't have a channel? And the answer to that is definitely no. Because like, as I said, in these last like 2 years or so, my motivation to read has like doubled and tripled because of the satisfaction of like making reading vlogs and posting videos and then being excited about them and motivated from you guys to read more books. And like, definitely not. Like, I've definitely prioritized reading more in these last 2 years than I ever have in my life, and I don't think, like, if I didn't have this channel, I definitely wouldn't be reading as much as I do. I would still be reading for sure, but definitely not as much as I do. Somebody said, would you ever do a book club for thrillers? And I would really like to. I've seen so many cool book clubs started this year on booktube, and I'm like so jealous because I want to do it, but I just don't have the like motivation to actually do it. But maybe in 2021, if you guys have any ideas for that, you know, let me know. I'm always up for hearing some ideas. Should it just be thrillers? Should it be like any books? Like, I don't really know yet what I want to do. I would really like to start a book club in 2021. I think it would be so fun. Another question says, what are some of your favorite spooky movies? And for that, I would definitely say The Shining, Halloween. I really love It Follows. I really love Us and Get Out. And I really loved The Nightmare on Elm Street. I thought that was so fun. The next question says, what's the next television show on your list? And probably Unsolved Mysteries is going to be the next one that I really want to watch on Netflix. Ooh, the next question is from my friend Rain. She says, how has booktube benefited your life since your last Q&A? Booktube has benefited my life in so many ways, like not only because of the amazing friendships and the community that I feel like I've really discovered since my last Q&A. I don't know, I still feel like early last year when I did my last Q&A, I still didn't really have a place on booktube, or I just felt like I hadn't really found my what's the word I'm looking for, like my niche. But you know, since then I really do feel like I've found a place for myself on booktube where I just feel so comfortable and confident with the videos I'm making, and I've had so many great friendships since my last Q&A. You know, before the year of like 2019 on YouTube, I never had any friends really, or like any confidence to make friendships, and since then I feel like I've had so many strong friendships formed just in this last year. Like, it's really amazing. And then not only that, but like the financial benefits that I've had from this channel in the last year or so. Like, before the year of 2020, I had never had a sponsorship on this channel, and now in 2020 I've had several, and it's just so amazing to be able to work with companies that I really respect and look up to so much. Like, these are companies that I've been wanting to work with for forever, and it's just such a dream come true to have those benefits. And I don't know, I just feel very blessed. Ooh, and my friend Mike said, who is your favorite book villain and why? And I would definitely say Victor Vale from Vicious is my favorite. I just love him so much. He's just such a badass, cool villain. All right, my camera battery is dying, so I need to get through some of these YouTube questions real quick. One of them says, if you get a job where you'll earn so much money but you'll not be able to read again because of time, would you accept the job? And the answer is no, because I do make enough money from my YouTube channel and from my job to live a pretty cool life. And with doing those things, I do have plenty of time to read, and that makes me really happy. And if I had a job where I made a lot of money but I couldn't read because I didn't have the time, then I would be pretty freaking miserable. So no, like, money isn't the most important thing in the world to me. Like, my happiness definitely comes before that, and so I would never take a job that gives me a ton of money or I would be miserable. It's not worth it to me. Somebody asked, I'm curious to know about why you decided to quit university, because if you didn't know, I was in my 3rd year of college technically, and I was in university and I was becoming an English major, and then I dropped out. And the main reason at the time why I dropped out is because I was getting promoted at my job to become a shift leader, and then I got promoted from shift leader to assistant manager to store manager within the span of like 3 months. So I just saw that that was a better opportunity for me at the time, and just because I was completely overwhelmed and stressed by school and I didn't know really what I wanted to do with my degree, and I just kind of felt like I was wasting my time and wasting my money, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just dropped out because I was stressed. And I don't know if I plan on going back, honestly. Like, I don't see it for myself at this point, but I could see myself going back in these next few years or so, but I don't really know. The next question said, what's the best method for pulling yourself out of a reading slump? I could honestly do a whole video about this, and I think I might do that in the future, but the only things you can do, at least in my opinion, if you're in a reading slump, is either just just accept it that you're in a reading slump, take a break. Maybe you're burnt out, maybe you just need a break. The second thing I would recommend is listening to an audiobook. Audiobooks have kind of helped me get out of reading slumps sometimes because you're listening to the story as opposed to reading it with your eyeballs. And then the third piece of advice I would have is to reread a favorite, because sometimes rereading a favorite book can remind you why you love reading in the first place, and it can motivate you to go and pick up other books after you're done reading that book. Ooh, somebody said, if you could make some of your favorite authors write a book in a genre that they haven't written a book in before, which authors would you choose and why, and what genre would they write? I would love to see Taylor Jenkins Reid write a thriller. Like, oh my god, that would be amazing. Or a horror book, yeah, give it to me. Ooh, somebody said, do you ever feel pressured to read a certain amount of books or pages to make interesting content? And the answer to that is yes. Oh my gosh, I feel that pressure so much, and I feel like during the month of October, I've felt that pressure like I have never before, and it's really been hard on me this month, like that pressure, but I totally feel that pressure, and I totally do feel the pressure to make interesting content. When my videos don't really do as well as I thought they would, it can be totally discouraging and just kind of like upsetting, but you just gotta keep going, you gotta keep chugging along, you gotta keep putting out videos and doing your thing, because not every hit is gonna be a home run, you know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh, my friend Elle asked me, do you feel pressured to read an arc, especially when they tell you there's a due date? Sometimes I do, but most of the time, like, not really. I don't know, I feel like I definitely used to feel this pressure a ton when I was accepting more arcs, but honestly, like, nowadays I don't feel like I'm accepting as many as I used to. Ooh, somebody said, being a booktuber, what has been the hardest part in this journey of yours? I think one of the like hardest parts of YouTube, especially like in this last year, has been like when your channel starts to grow to a certain size. I feel like some people feel more comfortable leaving rude comments or like hateful comments because they think that maybe since you have a larger audience that you're not seeing those comments, but that's definitely not the case most of the time. And like, I do see at least like 95% of the comments that come in on my videos, and so it can be super discouraging when people are just plain rude about like whether it's about my voice or my chipped nails, or they want to say like just whatever. Like, there's been so many different kinds of hate comments that I've received over the years, and it's like most of them I just don't care about, like, honestly, because they're just being a troll just to be a troll, you know? But then there's every now and then where a comment will just hit me while I'm down, and it could just really take a toll on like my mental health. And I think the hardest part about like getting those hateful comments as your channel grows is because it can be easy to be like, oh, well, that's just one person's opinion and like, who cares? Like, I have 50,000 other people who really enjoy my videos. But then it's like, I start to think, well, what if some of these other people have that same opinion of me? And then I feel like I'm embarrassing myself in front of 50,000 people, you know, like that's like my mindset. So then I can really like spiral sometimes because of that. But I try not to let it get to me. And I do realize that I have definitely a lot more positive feedback than I have negative feedback. And that's really motivating to me. But it can be hard sometimes to just try to like weed through those hateful comments and just try to ignore them. It can be hard sometimes. He asked if I'm an introvert or an extrovert, and 1000% an introvert. My Myers-Briggs is an INFJ, which is the most rare in the world. I'm a Capricorn, which means I'm stubborn as fuck. And I'm an Enneagram type 6, which means I'm anxious as fuck. Somebody says, which book character represents you in real life the most? And I would definitely say either Kath from Fangirl or Georgia from Loveless, like a combination of both of them. That is me. Those are all of the questions. Wow, there were so many questions that were sent in, so I'm really sorry if I didn't get to yours, but I've been sitting here on this floor for like over an hour answering questions and my throat is starting to hurt, so I think it's time for me to call it a day. Thank you so much again for 50K. I will never be able to express my gratitude the way that I would like to. I just really, really appreciate it. And I just can't believe it. 50K, it's like mind-boggling. It's huge. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye.